hell of an introduction, Scott.
My God, I feel almost under pressure now. Like, Brad, I might have performance anxiety.
No, you don't. How are you doing?
Buddy, I'm great. As you know, you and I have been cooking up a storm, and we've got a hell of a show today. It's going to be so much fun because, well, Brad, you know me. I don't like to tell you what we're talking about because then it takes my fun away.
I like to always stay a little bit on the edge, right?
That's right. Okay, but before we begin our Q&A webinar, let's do what we do, which is disclaim and feed the lawyers. So for Lawyer Food, today we must tell you guys that Trade Ideas is not a registered investment advisor, and all the information that we are providing at this webinar is for educational and informational purposes only. And all the key typing is also for regulatory purposes only.
I muted him. He's out.
Who was that? Was that Scott?
That was Scott. He forgot.
Scott forgets. It's okay. But back again. We are not a registered investment advisor, and these are not solicitations to buy or sell securities. What this is an enlightening experience. We've used this slide before. I'm literally kind of gonna blast through this presentation, but here's what I want to say. Trading is the right of your life. Look at this. Look at a stock like Lululemon today. The kind of innovation that's happening and the possibilities that are shaping in the stock market makes, right now, in my opinion, Brad, this is reminding me of what it was like when the dot-com bubble was not ending but was starting. The innovation that's coming in the stock market, and I've said this before, and I've said this at our event in Carlsbad, is that the stock market is the currency of innovation. Companies that are going to cure Alzheimer's or the ones that are providing weapons for us to kill everybody, whatever it is that we're doing, it's happening in the stock market, okay? And you get in them and you can have the kind of returns that basically are being kept away from you by the mainstream media and everybody else because they want you to believe that you need to be average and have low expectations. That's part of the way, systems work. Everybody should kind of be where they are. But you're here in this webinar because you're interested in the stock market, you're interested in performance. And that's what we're going to talk about. Okay? Why are you listening to me? And again, a lot of you are my customers, but I've been doing this for a long time. And look at what I've been able, this is what you're looking for. You're looking for the things that I've found and been fortunate to find all my life, which is freedom, okay? I did this by being able to see that, wow, it's not about 2% a year, it's about possibly 200, and then repeating it and repeating it. And this is, look at the middle picture, this is 1996. So here's something interesting. Mr. Williams, how did you meet me? And by the way, if you saw me right now, you'd be like, my God, that guy is not even aged a day.
I think I met you back, well, you were about that young, almost, not quite, maybe a year later, but, I was at a point in my life where I had a little bit of extra income, or extra money rather, and I was leaving my current profession. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I saw an ad in the paper, learn how to trade stocks. And I had traded futures, and I had traded some stocks, but I really hadn't rolled my sleeves up and done some real active trading, if you will. And on that ad, I remember Yahoo and some other internet flyers. And my buddy and I, we answered that ad, went in and took the training course. And gosh, the rest is history. Dan and I have done 2 software companies since then, done a tremendous amount of trading.
And where's that other buddy now?
And that other buddy's with us too. That's Steve. He's a fraternity brother of mine back at USC, and we ended up taking that class together. And he's with us now. He's been trading ever since.
So this is the thing. People create this path that they're able to do, and this path is a different path from most. You're not on the drone path, and I don't mean that in a it comes out the wrong way. But a lot of people just do not think outside the 9 to 5, and this is what we are all about. Okay, because we're going to talk some wisdom, and I did this at our event. but it really is the truth of it. You're here. If you take anything out of this, and by the way, this is my subscribers too who listen to Barry and myself in the room. Fear is the enemy. The future is unknown. Okay? So no matter how many lines or wiggles or schmiggles or doohickeys you put on a chart, all you're asking for with stuff in general is comfort when you make a decision. At Trade Ideas, we're working on both parts of that equation. There's the decision to get in, and there's the decision to get out. We are working to optimize and make both of those cases for you the most efficient. In other words, the less guessy. So you sit there and you have fear of the stock market because you're like, oh, I'm going to get in and then I don't know what happens. But you don't realize that you don't know what happens about anything. You're going to get in your car. You don't know if a maniac's going to slam into you. You have no control over that. You know? No control whatsoever. So fear is the enemy. So then, Brad, remember we were at the webinar and we basically said this, and this is a complete truth and the other reason for why you're here. You either make your money work for you or you spend the rest of your life working for money. It's your choice. But it's one or the other. People like Bill Gates, I mean, you can say that, well, it's Microsoft that did it for him. Well, of course, Microsoft did it, but how did it do it? In the stock market. That's how he was able to monetize his wealth. You monetize your wealth in the markets or through businesses or through your time. But the most safest and easiest place to do it today is in the stock market because the fees equation has completely shifted. You know, it is so much easier to get into a stock than to get out of a stock. In fact, since Trade Ideas is one of the few unaffiliated technology firms, because again, we're not a broker dealer, we can tell you about all the, like for example, Robinhood. You know, you can trade for free. So there you go, no commission. That lets you be as active as you need to be, and that's the key. Success in the stock market, you know, being able to do this, and then this, and then this, and then this, it really boils down to one simple thing that if you learn, then you just have to execute, which is you cannot put yourself in positions where you get wiped out. I know this sounds simplistic, Brad, right? But ultimately, isn't that what happens to everybody?
Yeah, I think, well, there's one word that stands out in my mind that goes to what you're saying, and it's just really discipline. If you don't have discipline, it doesn't really matter what you do. One bad trade is going to wipe it.
So that's what we're going to talk about a lot today. Because again, this Q&A is how do you take advantage of this data that we're going to give you? And the other part is simply opening your eyes. The market, I even hate to say beatable, right? Why do you need to beat it right now? You just need to be, first of all, you need to be in it. You know, that's one thing. You know, if the market is running and you're not in it, well, you're losing to it in another way. So you have to, first of all, be in it to win it, and then you have to outperform it, and we will show you how to do both. We use a statistical approach to find opportunities, and much like card counters in Las Vegas can beat blackjack, this is what's happening to our signals versus just holding the S&P. And we know it's not a one-to-one comparison, but we're just giving you an example of how much the S&P is moving versus how much our index is able to add or subtract based on its daily performance, okay, in a point scale. And by the way, we're going to create lots of other ways for you to be able to view this data, but this is just an idea that, look, the AI started in January, was learning and getting better and better and better, and then really started to excel, and that's what it's doing right now. And the market's moving up too, so you want to be in it. In the dot-com bubble, you know, you didn't even have to be a great trader, you just had to be in at the right time, and it's very possible we could get back into that type of environment, Brad. I mean, that's what I'm excited about. Part of, again, the reason that you're here, for those of you that aren't using our technology, and for those of you that are, the game is information processing. How do you process the information that's out there? Because everything is information. It's, you know, whatever it is that you know, if you can apply your knowledge, the stock market is where your knowledge is applied. So how do we do that? How do we help you? Well, we do that by watching every single stock, monitoring every single type of behavior on that stock, and then compiling statistics to see if there's channels of probability. What I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize the rest of the presentation, and I'm going to jump into something, Brad, that you and I actually haven't shown in a while. But we want to, because again, it's a good segue and a good beginning to show that, number one, trade ideas isn't just an application. So here I am. I'm going to minimize our software in the background. Here I am in a browser window. Right, Brad? Remember the browser?
That is a browser window.
And here I am. Right. So one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to show that, first of all, again, trade ideas is not just an application. We have very powerful web-based technology that allows you to do a lot of the things that you do in Trade Ideas Pro, but to some extent possibly even more conveniently, because look what you can do. You have some freedoms with the browser that you don't otherwise have. Like, for example, there's this nice component of smart sizing where if you move the window and make it bigger, the columns auto-adjust. Same thing if you make it smaller. They also auto-adjust. So there's some nice built-in smarts. And here again, you're on the channel bar. You can see there's a slightly different way that we display it. We have the 3 arrows here to tell you you're on the gainer's channel, but everything else streams. And Brad, you know, like I said, we're moving the artificial intelligence to the web too soon. But there's so many exciting things happening. But one of the reasons why I wanted to open this up, there's kind of the segue to my slide of no fear, to show that this is real. Okay, look at this IPI, Intrepid Potash. I'm just giving you this as an example that, first of all, this stock today moved 37.6%. I mean, and you guys probably know that these things happen. But the thing that I'm trying to show is that, and this is the part that I think sometimes people don't see. And Brad, to me, this is where you can really kind of slow things down and say, look at this stock, right? It wasn't like it just happened in one day and we're trying to show you, like, look where you could have been, but nobody was. You know, we're not like that. Look at this move that kind of started to build here, here, here. This is 3 days that this stock was, first of all, this was kind of on highs and then trending higher and then subsequently moved up basically 100% almost. That's what's possible. And look at the prices, right? This is, again, the beauty here for the individual investor. And Brad, this is what I remember from the 90s. Is that somebody with a $50,000 account where you can get 4-to-1 buying power during the day, I mean, you can trade possibly 10,000 share lots of this or 5,000 and really have meaningful movements from today's market.
Well, I mean, that's, you know, Dan, that's what we're doing every day, is that we're finding these types of opportunities, because these types of opportunities have footprints that they're laying down, and whether it's volume or breaking above a resistance level, all of this information it's being conveyed through this big data that we're analyzing and being able to convey through these windows.
Right. So let me tell you why, again, we kind of think we're the coolest vendor in the space, and this is, Brad, it's kind of one of my favorite things about what we've done, because it's relatively simple, but let's face it, I mean, we're not the only vendor of stuff that's in the market. I mean, you got telecharts, the Warden Brothers guys, you got this guy, Timothy Sykes got his stocks to trade, you've got equity feed, you've got various people competing for people's attention. But what I know that what we do and why you guys should really love Trade Ideas and where we excel at, aside from the fact that our data is custom data and people don't have this data, that's why we can light things up the way no one else can. But there's another difference. We don't expect you to do any tinkering. Everybody else, you know, today, Brad, when you and I were looking at TC2000, for example, I mean, you come in there, then there's all this file, new and find and library and all this stuff. We're like, who wants to do that? You know, we are like, look, here, there's a social media channel. It's geared for you. We already have expertise to tell you, like, how to communicate. You just have to get rid of your fear and make, you know, investments. That's the thing. That's what we get you to. We get you closer and closer to this point where you're just, it's either a yes or a no, and then trust that you know how to handle it. That's the other thing that we're going to talk about. Okay? But the web-based product is pretty potent, Brad. You know, so many things you can do.
Try this, Dan. Let me show you something, which I just love. I think it's really great tech. Over on that social media stream, that multi-strategy window that's inside of that channel right there, let's pop it out, and it just kind of, it'll illustrate the, just go inside of the body, of the window.
Sure. So let's make sure, is everyone able to see my screen? Let's make sure.
Yeah, looks great.
Okay, so, hello?
Yeah.
Did I do it?
Yeah, just go down. No, scroll into the grid of the window. Right click in the grid of the window. Yeah, right there, and select pop out. So this allows you, well, we've done everything for you, right? We've taken all these channels, we've used our expertise to do it, but you can also, I mean, you can kind of treat this as something, if you wanted to modify it, create it as your own, or take a window that someone else provided for you.
Well, I love what you're saying. So what Brad's kind of talking about right now, so now what I can do is, so now I'm going to channel surf, hypothetically speaking, right? I'm going to click here, but my social stream window is still here, so I can still keep an eye on all the channel kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, look at this. What is this interesting now top post? Okay. So I'm going to keep this too. I don't know what it is yet, or I'm just going to, contemplate a view, because that's a lot of, here's another thing, Brad. Most people have to understand there's an art to it, but it's not a complicated art. It's more like Jackson Pollock. Like, if you were to tell the realist, and Brad, tell me if I'm overcomplicating this, please, because you know how.
I'll tell you.
Oftentimes, traditionalists, you look at a beautiful realist, and you're like, my God, this is an amazing painter. Then you look at Jackson Pollock, right, and you're just like, did a child throw up? It's very easy to make that confusing, like, generalization, but as it turns out, that's not the case. And this is the same thing here. You don't have to even know exactly why you're pulling something out, but now you're like, okay, so I've got my social media stream, and I've got my volume-based interesting now stream. Okay, let me go to the earnings channel. And just to make sure, earnings today, and I want to see who's up the most, and I'm going to pop this out. And I'm just making myself a little, kind of, and notice too that I'm shrinking everything, because, and obviously this is after hours, but I'm just saying that this one, for example, isn't meant to have any, oh, there it is. Okay, sorry, I can't even see what I'm doing, Brad. It's my own tech is scaring me. Okay, anyways, so now, for example, now that I have this, I can maybe focus on a totally different kind of like stream of data. So this is our active trading channel. This one is designed for stuff that's really moving right now. So if you aren't paying attention, like these are the things that are so active that kind of they require your attention, because like stuff's really moving quickly. Like look at this Lululemon. It's after hours, but that's just one of those examples where it's it's up almost 10 points after hours right now. And by the way, you can in these charts you can let's see, properties. You can show post market, so it's the same thing. Just like in our Trade Ideas Pro, properties show post market. And so now I can just go to any symbol, double click, and it's the same exact concept. And you can kind of see it's highlighted. So now if we go back to that Lululemon, you'll see that it's at 68 versus where it was. But again, at the same time, I can still keep an eye on these things. So I know that, for example, this stock is on the social media stream, so it's being talked a lot, on social media. Same thing with this one.
Yeah, it's really all about being able to build your own particular workspace. Everybody has a little bit different style, and
Right. But what's nice here, Brad, is again, this almost is a little bit easier than in TI Pro because you can you can quickly surf and then pop the windows out that really, are the things that you like and that appeal to you. And you can really all of a sudden find yourself as you've got like what you call your own best of.
It is, and there's also the complete synergy between the application and the web via the cloud links, right? So you could
100%.
create a cloud link inside a TI Pro in the application and just migrate it right over to the web, or vice versa. So sharing stuff between these two applications is very nice.
Yeah. So okay, does anyone have any questions about the web, or just again anything relating to what you're seeing here, because we don't show it as much, but I think it deserves its own kind of I wouldn't say its own Q&A certainly, but we from now on, Brad, ought to at least kind of highlight it, because certainly let's remember this: you can use the web-based version on the Mac, right?
Right. Sure can. You bet.
Without any parallels and stuff like that. And oh look, recover web page. It's always nice. And look, you can recover it. Boom. Just came back. I'm almost surprised, Brad.
Yeah, so good synergies between. So hey, do this right now. Go to the options channel, because I know Nicholas is asking about the options channel, and it gives an opportunity to talk about some of the special data points that are inside of Trade Ideas. I mean, there's so many that are very unique to this platform when you look at volume and how much a stock has moved over different times. But specific to the options channel and options data, we do connect to Oprah, so we're bringing in options data in real time, and we're creating this data point called options volume today percentage. And really what that's doing is it's looking at today's option volume in real time right now and comparing it to the average options volume. And it's really a accumulation of both the calls and the puts. So you're looking at just total aggregate of the option volume here.
And there's the total, so you can see, like, sometimes, for example, if let's say a stock like never trades any options, 310 contracts could be 15,000%. I mean, that's again, but at the same time, right? What are we here to do? We are here to find unusual options activity, Brad, are we not?
That's right.
I mean,
and you can also use the filtering in Trade Ideas to say, I need to see at least 1,000 contracts that have traded today. That's the type of manipulation that you can do.
This, like right here, where you sort it, you can take the same thing and sort it by options volume today, and you can say, wow, look, Ford Motor Company had almost 500,000 contracts today, which is a pretty big, when you see these kind of things where Disney has, look at that, I mean, that's interesting. Spiders, how about that? So you had a lot of like old school kind of things, or rather liquidity kind of, the volume is coming in is what I'm trying to say, or it's going to come in, because look at what's happening.
Yeah. So let me take Jeff's question, and Jeff is asking, is there a way that we could have our own channel for our own scans, like my stuff? And there are a lot of great things that we have planned for the channel bar. But right now, you can certainly do it by creating your own saved cloud share. So all you do is you create your workspace the way that you want it, and just save it to the cloud. And you can pull that up at any time right through the My Cloud window or right through the toolbar. There isn't a My Cloud channel window here in the web version.
Oh, Brad!
I knew I threw you. So under Tools, there's the Load from Cloud and the Save to Cloud, and this is the means that you would effectively save your own channel or save your own workspace. And you can do it in one of two ways. You can either do it to the cloud, or you can do it through a local save to your hard drive. And
well, I can also show, for example, I had, let's see, Brad test for my favorite layout. Who knows what's in here? Should I even look at this?
I don't know.
Let's take a look.
No comment.
Okay, so here's an example of I think I was doing this because, to me, this was a simplified view. Like, Brad, I actually recall this, and I had to say I kind of like that I did this, because this is a good example to show. Imagine a desktop. Again, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer. You might not need to see like 100 million windows. Look at how we can simplify it, right? Look, it's just like that. Here, now, every stock that you put in here, like MTX, hello, did I not link this? Symbol linking. Okay, so here, MTX. So you can see exactly what it is that, and by the way, look at these moves. Guys, girls, everyone, look at the market move. You're going to want to be here, and you're going to need these tools to really take advantage. Dang it, I have to get firm, Brad. But it's true. The idea is quickly being able to see what's happening. You don't necessarily need a ton of space. You know, you've got the shorter term time frame, you've got the longer term time frame, and you can quickly, you know, just see what's going on. Are you buying like the highs, or are you buying, you know, something else? And that's okay. I mean, the idea is to be able to quickly identify. And this window is specifically AI stocks of interest. That's kind of looking at the two scenarios where you either pick something up off a trend change or it's exploding higher. So one of the two. In this case, this is the trend change reversals. Those are some of the best ones. But notice again, we are doing this inside of a web browser. Browser, how are we on the questions?
So Francisco is asking about how Holly picks trades and strategies, and we haven't talked at all about our AI.
We're going to get there, but I have to ask Francisco, does it matter? And I'm only joking, but not joking, because remember, we all look for comfort to make ourselves feel comfortable that this is going to be good. But at the end of the day, the future is unknown. And what I'm saying is that what we are trying to do is we are trying to not guess randomly. That's why if any one of you do this today, Google cat that outperformed market professionals. It's a beautiful story that basically a cat was randomly pawing at some stock symbols, and the researcher said, okay, and whatever the cat randomly paws, we're going to use that as a signal and compare how, you know, the professionals are doing. And the cat beat them. Okay, so sometimes a rising tide can lift all boats. But from a statistical point of view, we at Trade Ideas, we give you a vantage point that no other company gives you, and I'm going to show you why and how. Before we do that, why don't we bring Scott in? I'll take a sip of water, and Scott, you can go over this part of the equation and make sure
Unmuted.
How to get trade ideas, because they're all going to want it after what Brad and I show.
Well, yeah, we have a way of thanking people for attending our webinars, and we give a discount for that. You can go to trade-ideas.com/price, and the code this month for the Q&A webinar is Buy Holly, all caps, and that'll let you save 15% off your first month or year of premium. And it also takes 10% off your first month or year of standard. So the difference between premium and standard is the premium version of Trade Ideas has our advanced features that include Holly, the artificial intelligence investment discovery engine, as well as our backtesting module, the Odds Maker, which is an event-based backtesting tool that lets you optimize your own strategies. But it also includes access to things like our shareable price alerts and premium windows like red bar ignore and green bar ignore. However, both the standard and premium both include all of your real-time exchange data, so it includes your exchange fees. Both include the charting, and very important, a one-on-one training session, a full hour of training with either Steve Gomez, Jamie Hodge, or Andy Lindloff, three of our expert Trade Ideas educators. So as soon as you sign up for either standard or premium, go ahead over to the support section, click on training, and pick the best time and date that's available. As is included, it's the best head start you can get to using our software. But even the $99 a month standard includes all that, includes the full training and real-time data. Then go ahead and just buy an upgrade to premium once you get secure in using Trade Ideas, or just start at premium and save 15% off that first month or year using the code. in addition to that, you can also upgrade from standard to premium. If real easy, if you're on standard monthly, just go ahead and purchase either of the premium tiers, month or year, and it overwrites your standard monthly subscription. Or if you're on the $888 per year standard, just email info@trade-ideas.com and we'll help you out with getting that upgrade done. And if you have any questions about that, just email info@trade-ideas.com. Dan?
I am definitely named Dan. And this is our contact slide, but we will come back to it, obviously, towards the end of the presentation. Okay. Let's see here. Let's get excited and stop happening.
We're caught up.
Okay. Dr. Williams, are we ready to explain to our audience really what separates us from the rest of the fintech world, from the trade stations, from the Bloombergs, from everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the culmination of all of this technological understanding that we've been able to gain over the last 13 years in the market. I mean, so we started off really with just a single window, a single point of data, and we've increased that exponentially. And what in the process, we've added back testing that allowed us to really take an analytical look at this data and see how you could manipulate its outcome in the market by changing some of the data points. And with that tool, what's that?
Can I pop in with something real quick on this? Let me explain. I really want people to visualize this. Brad, let's say you are a professional mixed martial artist. You with me? And you are about to fight another professional mixed martial artist. How would you prepare for that fight?
Well, it would not be just preparing overnight. I'd be doing a lot of training.
Yeah, no, I mean, you get physical, but I'm saying, but literally, how would, if you want to know, what's this guy going to throw at you, what are you going to do?
I'm going to look at video.
You're going to watch tape.
Yeah.
Coaches in NFL football, if they lose a game, the game's recorded, they will sit there with the players and they watch tape. They say, look at what you did here. You see this guy's doing this, da, da, da. Next time, try this. It's going to be better. This is basically the kind of thing that nobody does correctly in the financial marketplace because no one approaches it from the point of view of really somebody that wants an answer to the speculative question. Which is why, again, TradeStation and the like have kind of come up with a type of backtesting where you take a stock and you magically decide what you would have done over the last 20 years to trade it perfectly. Unfortunately, that's like basically always preparing for your next fight by watching Muhammad Ali, and that's it. Now, he's amazing to watch, but you need to prepare for what's actually going on. So we did this, and I think this is what gets Brad sometimes forgotten in all the technical jargon about data and all that stuff. The key is we ask the right questions. Okay, we said to ourselves, if something happens, what we want to know is what could possibly be taking place in the future. Like, if I bought this stock at the open, right, I'd want to know, well, I bought it because it was having this pattern, breaking out on volume, a pattern that literally every single person looks at and wants to see. Because it looks good. You know, it means it looks like there's momentum, and people are taught that, you know, that you need volume with momentum, and a lot of times that makes sense. But you have to ask the question, you know, does it make sense all the time? Like, for example, is this one similar to this one? Or is this one similar to this one? These two look more similar to me. Do you see what I'm saying? And then you start comparing and contrasting, etc. But my goodness, does that take a lot of time? So here's what we did. We automated that process for you by you being able to test this scenario. It's an event. The event is a breaking out on volume. And you can say to yourself, since you're human, right? The market in California opens at 6:30. And by the way, if you're not doing this and you have premium, then you're missing a huge component of what's possible. So you can say I wake up or I get to my trading terminal at, let's say, 10 after the open because I like to get coffee and I don't want to get caught up in the opening bell volatility, which happens. Then I am, as it turns out, because I'm Brad, I don't know if you knew this, but I'm brilliant. So I'm also a doctor, and after 10, I do my rounds. Okay? So the reason I have 10 a.m. here is because I know I'm not going to be investing after 10. I'm doing surgery. So now that I've got my block of time that's open where I do some investing, I'm going to ask myself, well, is this thing that I just said, this breakout on volume, is this a good idea? So here's how I'm going to test it. I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm going to ask a simple question of what happens 30 minutes later. We're not going to get, we don't need to get into any of the risk management yet or any of that stuff. It's just a simple speculation. So now, all of a sudden, our software, now it starts to do the stuff you can never do at a trade station or a TC2000 or anywhere else on earth but at Trade Ideas. You can ask real human questions and get real human answers. So we have now gone through 1,400 movies of fights. Okay, we've possibly fought 1,400 different opponents because, as Brad, as you know, sometimes the same stock becomes a different opponent. So here is what it looks like. 1,500 events, of which 44.9 were winners, and the average winner is only 2 cents bigger than the average loss. What this says to you, and this is an important lesson, is a lot of times things that look appealing to your eye are actually statistically not that relevant. Most people have no idea that this is the truth of investing. This is why, Warren Buffett famously says, well, he likes to buy when there's blood on the streets. Well, he's doing that because he's buying from you. He is buying when others are selling. That's certainly an advantage. By the way, that's not the only way to have outstanding returns. You can also buy as other people are buying. But what I'm saying is that incidentally, looking at it visually the way that we just said, and Brad, if you and I go to this window and go to the configuration screen where we can just see what the filters are, let's notice what we're seeing. So this stock will be up 2%. It's already trading 2 times normal volume, so there's indeed momentum. And it's traded at least 300,000 shares, so this might be one of those ones that's so crazy where it goes from 300,000 to 30 million, The minute that this is happening, the 1-minute volume bar is huge, and so is the 5-minute volume. We've painted this picture internally, and it's a beautiful picture because it looks like these stocks. Unfortunately, it turns out that what we asked wasn't that valuable. So then we can restate the question. What if instead of 30 minutes, it's an hour? Again, you just start to ask these basic questions and it helps you to kind of see, well, which way is the wind blowing? You know that professional golfers oftentimes will take some grass and they'll throw it into the wind. This is what we are doing here, or we're dipping our toe in the water. It's the same way that you would approach practice trading, except the difference here, and this is the cumulative advantage of massive, data access. Instead of paper trading one at a time, we're running through, okay, so you just paper traded something, holding it for 30 minutes, you just re-paper traded it, holding it for an hour. Okay, the numbers are getting a little bigger, but your success rate isn't changing at all. But you can all of a sudden come in here and find all sorts of interesting things. Like, look, for example, the very early morning when I was buying and selling stocks, that didn't work for me that well. So maybe this behavior asserts itself a little bit later. Let me do something as simple as change the time. See, like the software starts to give you some suggestions. So I'm going to say my entry time, instead of being 6:40, I'm going to move it to 7. And again, I don't know the answers because it's going to be a different run, but let's just see what happens. Well, at least now we're kind of heading a slightly righter direction. And so here, because Brad, remember, the question was how does our AI do it? So everything that I'm doing here by hand, in this time of day example where I'm literally, I can get to the point where I'm like, okay, well maybe, did I want this?
Well, you did time, right? So go to other filters, because this is really where the power of what Holly's doing is that she's looking at every filter that Trade Ideas has and really looking if she was to make a change to that value, include it, exclude it, just adjust it, if you will, how is that going to affect the outcome? And because there are hundreds of different filters, it's really difficult, if not impossible, for a human to do this effort. And by having the computer do this immediately after the market closes and start crunching the data, she presents us, or presents herself, with 40 different optimized strategies every day and looks at those strategies and decides based on the ranking of different metrics like win percentage and profit factor which ones are going to make the cut for the next day. It then presents you with a list of strategies.
So these are Brad's kind of taken us farther down the lane, but these strategies all appear here because they have been through that run. But instead of doing it by hand, what Brad and I were showing you, the computer automatically goes through the millions of possibilities where it does this optimization and adjusts. And it's like, oh, so this is what I need to do, and this is what I need to do. It's the behavioral analyst, it's the guru, it's the FBI profiler. And again, it's not a guarantee war. There's no guarantee. But if you are speculating in the U.S. equities market, I'm going to tell you one thing. There is no approach that is more scientifically viable, that has the most data points than the one that is being implemented at Trade Ideas with our artificial intelligence. It's because, as Brad was saying earlier, we have custom data. Let me kind of explain what that is real quick. So let's say I want to go to, Brad, I want to make it so it's kind of not as difficult to envision. So I'll do this. So I can go to something like 5 minute, okay, and I can say, okay, I need to find stocks where the 5 minute volume, okay, I'm going to add a filter, and I'm going to say the 5 minute volume's got to be 500%. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to then go to the sort, and I'm going to say, you know what, not only that, but I want the biggest 5 minute volume on top. So it's going to be server sorting every single thing on 5 minute volume. So that way I just know I'm not missing anything that's kind of gigantic. And I have columns, of course, that I can, bring in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the 5 minute volume, the relative volume. I'm going to hit summary page and say 5 minute action. But I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to go to, do that, configure, and I'm going to also bring in a column for 5 minute change from percentage. Where did I put it? There we go. Show column. Okay. So what I'm doing here, and I think I probably have an after hours or something. Brad, is that what I got here? Is there an after hours filter here somewhere? Oh,
sorry, I was answering questions. What are you doing?
Sorry. I need to find one. I just can't have a 5 minute volume because that gets rid of the. It gets rid of the, what do you call it?
Yeah, if you're looking right now, you could have that if you were looking.
Yeah, it gets rid of it because you can't have that after the close. But here it is. And what I'm doing is notice these columns, okay? The 5 minute volume, and then the 5 minute change percentage. So to get these data points, you have to keep track of the stock, which the exchanges don't do for you. So almost no other vendor gives you an ability to say, okay, well, show me something that's up a lot of volume and at the same time up a lot in the 5 minute time frame. So you can kind of focus on which stocks are making the biggest moves right now. And we can then take these data points and we can test them, and we can then create variations of that and like where the stocks are in the position of the range. So that, for example, everything is really, really strong a certain kind of way. Okay? And again, you can look for aberrations. Like, what the heck is going on here? How could it have only traded so little? Did it get halted, or what was going on? Things start to pop out at you in a way that you would never have seen. But the beauty with what we do on the AI and what we all as a community kind of work towards is that the software is doing all of this for you. Okay, it's finding these kind of trades. So right now, like today, I'm showing. Brad, let's talk about again what you can do and see and watch with the AI. Today, I filtered my strategies on all long strategies, so that people don't often know that you can really do a lot of data augmentation. Like, for example, the whole list of strategies today was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 on the long side. And the reason I'm only showing the long side today is that the market was tearing up. And being short is a higher level maneuver, so I want to focus just so that you, because again, a lot of you have questions like, what is it? How does it work? So these were the long strategies. This is what they resulted. And again, not everything works. That's what you have to obviously understand, because the future is unknown. But the idea is that we apply that statistics to it. We make it so that you're not just randomly guessing, you're getting into what's called a pocket of opportunity. And look at the kind of percentage moves that are possible from, again, what our AI itself is doing and looking at.
It's also, I think it's super important to understand and kind of remember back at that initial chart that you showed at the beginning, which showed that long-term growth from January 1st. And, one day does the AI not make, right? And there was a question here by Pedro, and he was curious why the AI in aggregate with both its long and short strategies didn't make money today. And the market was strong, right? The market was up pretty good. And it just shows you it's not gonna win every day, and the market's not that predictable. But in aggregate, and looking at this over the last almost 12 full months, there has just been incredible performance, and I think it's really important to take a broader look at it.
Well, also, Brad, let's kind of take a look at different ways to understand what you're seeing. One is just simply points plus or minus, and we talked about the fact that we are going to provide a lot of different viewing scenarios so that people can see what this performance really means. But from a point of view of just investing in raw numbers, I mean, look at the percentages. There's another example: 10, 3, 3, 2, and on the losers it's 3, 2, 2, 1. And you have more winners than losers on the long side. And again, I think today is one of those things that you just wouldn't have been short unless you really
leave it right here on this chart, because I think it talks to what you were talking about earlier, where the real professionals are in there buying when other people, the retail guys, are selling. And this particular stock right here, VNCE, it triggered on the strategy looking for a bounce. And it saw, like I use this term footprints, but it saw some activity in the market. It saw something with this stock that made it think that this is a bottom-looking play. And those are really beautiful opportunities, really low-risk opportunities, because even though if it continues to go down, then obviously that wasn't a bounce, and you can cut that trade pretty quickly. But if in fact it was, it really does present an opportunity where you're not out of the money at all, or very little bit amount of time. And just a nice trade opportunity.
Well, let's not forget, what's the other big advantage that we do that no other vendor is doing? And this is, again, it's so important for everyone, because you have to use this. It's available, for every single stock. Look, Brad just said VNCE. Let's say you're actually not even, theoretically speaking, a premium subscriber, right? But you're just a subscriber of our regular service, which is fine. And let's say you saw VNCE because it was on a winner's channel, because I think that it probably was. Well, look, you automatically have a custom stop loss. Anytime you see it, any one of these stocks that you see, there's a specific stop amount that takes into account the volatility and it's in other words, if you want to play this smart, the way you would play it if you were playing with a blackjack card counter in Las Vegas, you would be using these numbers. Nobody has this but Trade Ideas. There's no other vendor that's telling you what stock should you statistically use for a stock. Well, every one of them has a slightly different amount because every stock is slightly different. Who else is giving you this information? Nobody. You know, a stock like new, you have to give 55 cents. So whatever it is that you're comfortable with, right? Like for example, let's say you, theoretically speaking, you don't want to lose $50 in a trade. I'm just being completely general, or any kind of investment. If you're down 50 in something, you don't like that. Well, you know you kind of need to trade this then at 100 shares. So you can work backwards to your risk, which is exactly what you need to do. You can multiply your risk times whatever it is. Okay, so on this one, all right, then, you know, maybe I can trade 120, 150, and so on and so forth. Okay, 200 shares. Hypothetically speaking. So we give you all of these information points. And of course, the other thing, Brad, and this is the part that I think is really critical, and I'll just bring up the website real quick also. Let me just bring it into view here real quick and expand. So we have our live trading room, which if you go to our website and click on it, it'll walk you through signing up. This requires no money. It's just where we're sharing ideas and where we're literally empowering the community, and it does not cost you anything. But what you do get is people using the internet and a meritocracy of support where you're going to listen to our moderator and other very good active investors of all kinds, swing and more active, or just people listening, and you're going to see how the information that Trade Ideas provides is processed at the human level. Because that's what you're asking yourself. You're like, okay, well, Dan obviously knows what the hell he's talking about, so he can use all this stuff. How do I, who have no idea, how do I use it? Well, remember what I said before. Fear is your enemy, but we're giving you all the basic things you need to not be afraid, which is we give you a stock number on every stock, and with the AI, we give you an entry signal, and it does, and again, it's a feed of what you should do. So that's really, for me, Brad, the high level. What else would you suggest that I touch upon, unless there's more questions? We didn't really go over.
There were a couple questions. I think one that Ed was asking. He says, does Holly work for end-of-day trading as well as intraday? I think end-of-day, maybe he's referring to swing or something like that. So that's a good question.
All right, let me throw that out real quick, or rather address it, not throw it out. What I mean is, let me answer that question. Every single trade that Holly produces is actually designed with the long term in mind. She doesn't just, because again, we approach this whole endeavor from the point of view of the human trader. See, here's the thing. Let me show you a personal and trade / investment that I'm in. I am long SQ at 1278, right here. Okay. Somewhere like right here. And here it is, it's going up. I'm still in it because it's breaking out, and now you kind of want to see if it can actually run. Most people get this insane idea that just because you're an active investor, it means you have to instantly exit. So I want to say that we are always designing our technology with the longer term in mind. If you notice all of the stocks, they're simple but very critical reasons for why our AI is showing them. Trend reversal, like looking for a bounce. Trend reversal, continuation. These are the things that happen, right? There's either a continuation or a trend reversal. I mean, you can kind of break it down into those basic things. I mean, the more detailed and granular you try to get, the worse it is. That's why it's the same thing, Brad, why in golf they say the biggest problem is paralysis by analysis. Instead of getting up there and focusing on just getting the ball to the target. People are obsessed with the minutia of slope and stance and all this stuff because the PGA sells lessons. But that's the same thing in the stock market. Paralysis by analysis. Your eyes tell you, I missed it. And then you feel like, I'm pissed that I missed it. And you don't realize that when the dot-com bubble started for 6 years, this is what the beginning looked like. And those people that said, oh, it's coming down because it's ran too far, those are people saying that are not in it. Again, ultimately, the future, we don't know what will happen, but look what it's telling you. The market is exciting. We've got some serious potential here, and you owe it to yourself to give it a try if you're here at the webinar. And the tools don't need to be tools where you're sitting there underneath the hood of a truck, trying to change the oil and get your, carburetor pumping. That's not what investing has evolved beyond that. It was like that in the 90s, and still some people, sell tools for that. But you, as an investor, you don't want to be tinkering. You don't have that much time. You need to be allocating and risk managing. That's the answer to the success. Allocate your time, manage your risk. Don't be afraid to make the investment because we've got the tools to help you. And then commissions are almost zero. So there is no risk for you.
Two questions here, Dan. I want to nail these out here. I think there's a really good question by Daniel, who's got a $5,000 account, wondering if Trade Ideas is something that he should subscribe to because of the expense and percentage of his account. I clearly say absolutely, but if you're a little apprehensive about it, go into the trading room for a couple weeks, make some dough, and have it convince you. Because I think just by being in that trading room where everybody's using our tech, you're going to really see how it could provide some value.
Well, I'm going to.
Okay.
I'm going to say this. I agree. I think when you're trading a $5,000 account, you have a lot less room for error. I mean, let me tell you guys, capitalization, for anybody who's listening and is serious, the biggest barrier to success at investing is capitalization. Because it's very similar. Think about the laws of large numbers, right? They talk about when you're in Vegas, for example, that the casino has this advantage over the player. It's actually, blackjack, it's pretty small, Brad. But oftentimes people come in there, they got their $500, or they say, I'm only putting in $200, and at $10 hands, you realize you don't have enough time to go through the kind of statistics where you catch the run that lets you, get some of the gains. It's very similar with investing. So you have to be very careful. At $5,000, I would definitely be trading like a Robinhood, where your commission is free, and I would be doing more swing because again, like you're trying to catch moves like in this cow, like from a 27 to a 35 at like 100 shares or something to that effect. That's what you have to do to slowly build the account. You have to look for the large percentage movers, which again, we're going to show you, and you can get them for free in the trading room. I hate having somebody, be under that much stress and also paying a subscription.
So one last question, Dan, which I don't think we've talked about at all, and we can kind of quickly hit on it, and that's really the effectiveness of the price alerts, but specifically targeted to the signals that Holly's generating throughout the day. Maybe you can just find a couple, not, I'm sure there's not everything, but maybe pick one or two. And
I think here's the part. So VNC today was a 10% winner. Okay, let me show you how people use the premium service and why we are the fastest growing subscription service in fintech. I mean, our AI is great, but we also know that you possibly can't be in every trade. So here's what people do. So you look at the big picture and you kind of zoom out, then you zoom back in, you're like, look at this. I mean, this trend change, if possible, look at the possibility of the reversal, because there's a lot of volatility here, right? And it tried, and basically almost, well, I mean, again, support and resistance are complicated things that they either are or aren't. At one point, these levels were support, but then they broke right here. But then look at this comeback. So here's what you do. You're like, okay, How about I'm going to set something here and basically say it is go time, because if it comes to this level, I mean, you know something big is happening. I mean, again, it could get into some resistance, but you are going to want to see it. So now you've got this alert and you're ready, and I'm giving you an example here because this is breaking out of this level, but you can be like, well, I also like it here too. Make more than one. And you can say, buy my first lot. Save. Boom. Now I've got here, I'm going to buy my 500 shares, and I'm going to buy another 500 right here, if it gets there. I mean, that's kind of how, it's similar to how you play blackjack. The proper rules of speculation. So any stock that you see at Trade Ideas, you can set alerts for. Here's another example. Stonegate Management. If you're looking over the longer term, you're seeing, wow, this thing's kind of looking interesting. It's at $5. How about if it breaks that high? It has some legs. And I do this all the time. These are visuals. I don't need a lot of confirmation. This is what teaches you to trust your feel. And Brad, by the way, it's funny that we're doing this because I happen to have just gotten rid of all of my, I was up like 117 points since like 3 months ago on my alerts, but I closed everything out to start over. So here's another one. Look at this beautiful, your eyes can just tell you. Look at this. If we can get above 40, then you can literally say it looks like real demand. What this exercise does is what we've learned from best practices of being investors for over 2 decades. Trust your instincts, because again, the idea is that you want to be able to execute if you're wrong. It's not about being right. Right will feed you. Wrong is where the problem occurs. And you can also do it in both directions. So notice here, from 38 to 34, it probably reported earnings and something bad happened, right? Well, I can set another alert here. Gap down, cross. And now, I'm still paying attention to what's going on for either side. So that's what we call bracketing, where you kind of got a concept, but you don't have to be fully committed to anything. You want to just really work it out. Let whatever happen, happen. Let things come to you versus chasing. Our customers, what they do best is they kind of go through, and you can do it through any stock. So here's Bank of America, right? I mean, it's going. So one of the things you can do is you can say, buying pullback, because it's so strong, you kind of want to, hopefully it pulls back, and you might be able to catch some right here, and again where your out will be. Same thing on every single one of these. Amazon, just minimize it, kind of take a look, say what's going on. Well, look, if this kind of gets above here, which Amazon can do on any given day, Amazon is running. I want to keep it simple. Notice that I didn't have to sit there and right-click a lot and tools and all of this stuff. We want to make it so that it's approachable and simple enough for you. And I think we're the only ones that do it this easily. You just visually, anything that catches your attention, you can simply right away put an alert on. And all of these ones that I'm making, the software remembers it. So I do not have to worry at all. I can go to my cloud, I can go to my windows, and I can go to my price alert windows, and I can say working, and load it, and here are all the ones that we've been just doing. Here they are. You can kind of see, you can see how far they are away from the alert. You have a lot of information, the alert price, etc. So that is the simple 1, 2, 3 punch of how our technology is utilized in the best way possible by our subscribers. All right, we've gone a little bit over the allotted time, unfortunately. Let me see here. Where did I put my? Here it is. I want to bring back our slide for the contact information. If you have any questions about anything that you've seen, info@trade-ideas.com, or myself, I'm Dan at trade-ideas.com. We would love it if you liked us on Facebook. If you follow our corporate account at Trade Ideas, you get a nice corporate stream of Trade Ideas information. And if you want to see a crazy person on social media, feel free to follow me at Trade Ideas 1. And of course, here's your phone number. We have people that are on support all the time for billing, for training. It is a full valet service for you to become an active investor. So we appreciate you taking your time on our webinar, and we'll see you soon. Brad, Scott, are we good?
We're good. Have a good night.
Yeah, thank
Have a
you.
good night, everyone.
Thanks.